He hit his head under the backboard.
Look at Michael Jordan cover ground. Oh, just get out there. I think he hit his head on the backboard.
Ooh, they were lucky that wasn't turned over. Anthony Edwards!
Strongest right now, but he's certainly slumped there as Jordan goes in for a dunk!
As we take another look at Edwards.
Mercy. The foul on Wingate is his first.
And again, moving without the basketball, the cut. He beat his guy out of Atlanta.
Wasn't there. Michael in on top, everybody. 49.
When it comes to player comparisons, the biggest honor you can get is being called the next Michael Jordan. And looking at past eras, guys like Kobe, LeBron, even D. Wade at one point were dubbed the next Jordan. In recent years, the MJ comparisons, they've intensified tenfold, from guys like Kawhi Leonard to Jimmy Butler. And nowadays, the newest MJ comparison is Anthony Edwards. And watching Edwards play, in terms of excitement, swagger, even playstyle and attitude, this guy is the real deal. And what's special about Edwards, on any given night, Monday through Sunday, can have a highlight play that makes your jaw drop. That, in a way, is MJ-esque, as every single night Jordan would have at least one play that left you dumbfounded. And looking more at this comparison, Ant, much like Jordan coming into the NBA, they weren't really slam dunk picks in their draft class. As for Edwards coming to the 2020 draft, he was kind of a wild card, potentially could be great, but there are questions about him, his overall motor, and attitude. And the going narrative at the time, kind of the meme of the draft, is that Ant Edwards was Andrew Wiggins 2.0. A guy who's uber talented, has bounced out of the gym, but in terms of attitude and work ethic, comes up short. And 4 years into Ant's career, those questions about dedication, motor, they've been proven wrong every turn. As in each of the past 4 years, Ant Edwards has improved every single season. His scoring average, rebound average, and field goal percentage has increased every single season. And now in 2024, is looking at a second-team All-NBA season, and a year in Minnesota had their most team success since 2004 with Kevin Garnett. The Ant Edwards evolution in Minnesota definitely is pretty shocking. As Minnesota of all places, the basketball wasteland where talent goes to die. For Ant Edwards to break out here is definitely something special. As looking at past T-Wolves legends, of course, Kevin Garnett, his entire prime wasted playing for the Wolves. Even someone like Cat, Andrew Wiggins, and Zach LaVine, their overall potential was never reached in Minnesota. And the T-Wolves historically just don't maximize on talent and their top draft picks. As pre-Ant Edwards, the last 16 years, Minnesota had a total of 1 playoff appearance and 0 series wins. Compare that to the pre-Jordan Bulls, and it is pretty similar. As in the previous 9 years in Chicago without Jordan, they had 1 playoff series win, were an expansion team, and an afterthought for the majority of NBA fans. Now, looking back at Minnesota, in terms of drafting talent, building great teams, the track record is not great. And not to go off subject, but that Gobert signing in hindsight, not nearly as bad as it was in the moment. And the fact Ant Edwards hasn't as good as he is with that too big funky lineup, Towns and Gobert, speaks volumes how good Ant Edwards is as an individual player. And what's pretty fascinating, when Cat's out of the lineup, Gobert's out of the lineup, Ant Edwards skyrockets to a whole different level. As in the past 2 weeks, when Cat's been out, 31 points per game, 7 boards, 5 assists, nearly 2 steals, 1.5 blocks on 48% shooting. Of course, Minnesota's team record minus Karl Towns wouldn't be as great as it is, but it does make you wonder, what could Edwards do on a team that fits his skill set and his play style? And speaking of play style, when it comes to Edwards, one of the few star players in the league who plays both ends. And if Edwards is locked in on defense, all defense level player, one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. As earlier this year, versus Jason Tatum, one of the premier offensive players, locked him down in the fourth quarter and overtime. And of course, just last week, had that iconic block versus the Pacers to get Minnesota a much-needed W. I'm not going to say Edwards yet is in the Luka tier, When talking about different superstar players, what separates players from each other, defense is a major factor. And Edwards so far, a great defender. Someone like Luka, not so much. And looking past the defense, when it comes to overall mentality and mindset, I mean, this guy is basically baby Jordan. As Edwards, he'll play through bumps, bruises, and even major injuries. And he's on record saying superstar players, all-star players, at minimum, should play 80% of the games. And looking at Edwards' track record, backs it up 100%. His rookie year, a shortened season, played every game. Second year, again, 72 games, missed 6 games due to COVID, and 4 games due to injury. In the last 2 years combined, has missed 6 games total. Could Edwards have played 65, 70 games, sat out here and there? Of course he could have. But Ant Edwards has that rare mentality to play every game and value the customers who pay to watch him play. I mean, it might not seem like much at first, but in the soft era we're in, where guys are crying about playing games, people gambling on them, I mean, Ant Edwards, a breath of fresh air. And when it comes to being a future face of the NBA, Edwards at first, I was a little skeptical of him, but this year, I mean, he's checked every box for a future face of the league. Exciting play, check. Plays both ends, check. Doesn't sit out games, massive check. And overall personality, one of the funniest guys in the league, another check. When it comes to the league right now, we're kind of in a weird period, as currently, there's kind of 3 eras intertwined, intermingling. The old guys, LeBron, Curry, Durant, who are being ushered out. The next tier, the established stars who are in their prime, Jokic, Giannis, Embiid, and then the young guns like Edwards, SGA, Luka, and Tatum. Those 4 guys right there are kind of the Mount Rushmore, the future of the NBA. And looking at Edwards out of that group, I would argue the most box office player, even though he's not the best. And looking back at the Edwards-Jordan comparisons, according to Chris Broussard, who has his sources, Michael Jordan told him, Edwards and him 100% have similarities. And of course, at the surface level, the high-flying dunks, poster plays, gravity-defying plays, Ant Edwards is MJ-esque. And when it comes to the Jordan comparisons, look, you gotta be careful. Are there similarities? Of course. In terms of overall legacy, do I think Edwards will reach that level? No, I don't. 6 championships, I mean, that bar is extremely high. But in terms of playstyle, being an ambassador for the NBA, Edwards for the 2030s could be that generation's Michael Jordan. And doing a side-by-side comparison, Ant at 22, Jordan at 22, the overall stats are pretty similar. Edwards, nearly 27 points, 5 boards, 5 assists on 47-37 and 84 splits. Jordan at 22, as a rookie not in his 4th year, the overall numbers are better, but definitely comparable to someone like Ant. The only big time difference in these players at age 22 is the 3-point shooting. And of course, in Jordan's era, it wasn't emphasized, and in Ant's era, it's all anyone does. So really, Jordan and Edwards at the same age, kind of the same player in terms of all-around game, being score first, and great on both ends. And when it comes to guys like Edwards and Jordan, timing is everything. And like I showed you earlier, in the current era with Ant Edwards, there's 3 different eras coexisting. When Jordan came to the NBA, a very similar thing. The old guard, Kareem, Moses, and Doc, they'd won their championships and were being ushered out. That next tier, the established superstars who were great already, the Birds, Magics, and Bernard Kings. And then beneath that, the Michael Jordan tier, the young up-and-comers, him, Ewing, Dominique, among others. And of course, Jordan compared to those guys, took off and skyrocketed to new heights, and eventually was the face of the NBA as a global brand. And in the future, being the face of the NBA 100% is possible. And why I believe it will eventually happen, because Edwards, like Jordan, has that it factor you can't pinpoint and really describe. As great as someone like Tatum is and SGA, even a Luka, in terms of that it factor, that wow factor, that just going viral factor, they don't have that like Ant Edwards. So, as always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.